Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Sherrie Maricle, drummer, composer, clinician, leader of the DIVA Jazz Orchestra, which is coming to Coe College as a part of the Marquis Series on April 8th. Sherrie, welcome.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks for having me. So glad to be here.
Oh, it's so glad to talk to you. You and the orchestra have been fairly regular fixtures in Iowa over the last few years. You've clinicked here. The DIVA Orchestra was the guest at the Iowa Jazz Championships, I think, a few years ago. I think that you adjudicated there as well. So we do get to see you and the many musicians that are in the DIVA Orchestra on a fairly regular basis. Your first time in Cedar Rapids for a while, and that's closest here to KCCK. So we're really looking forward to your concert. What has been going on lately with the DIVA Jazz Orchestra? I know that you have been out on tour.
Well, yeah, we were. Starting at one point, we were about to celebrate our 33rd birthday since our first performance, which was March 30th of '93. So a lot of things have happened in between there, and probably the last time that we visited Iowa. But yeah, I was really fortunate to be able to conduct the Iowa All-State Bands twice. To the top band and then one of the other bands, and super great, and done workshops for the Bandmasters Association, and a lot of my bandmates have done the same. So, like, to your point, I just want to reiterate our love of Iowa. I feel like for a couple of years there, I felt like I was a partial resident. I was there so frequently.
Yeah, next time we'll just get you an apartment.
Okay, thank you. But actually, we did go on tour with the Manhattan Transfer for about 2 years on and off as they were celebrating their 50th anniversary farewell tour. We did that quite a bit, and that was extraordinarily amazing for the band. We finished that run at Disney Hall in Los Angeles for their grand finale a couple of years ago. That was great. And prior to that, for several years with a 9-piece version of the band, we were touring with a show called Tapping Through Life, a theatrical production of Maurice Hines and Gregory Hines' life story. Super fantastic. We went coast to coast with that for about 3.5 years, again, off and on, like 2 months in one city, then a big break, then another 2 months here and there. And those are extensive, as extended touring as that we've done in several years, since the late 90s probably. And then we always do our annual run at Jazz at Lincoln Center at Disney's Club for our birthday that we have coming up next week. We do 8 shows there, so we'll be all warmed up by the time we get to you. And yeah. And then small festivals, regional festivals, and the large ones. And, like I like to say, working hard to keep working. 33 years and no sign of stopping.
Personally, your career started as you started on the horn, clarinet. When they wouldn't let you play trumpet because girls can't play trumpet, but you totally proved them. Got your revenge by taking up the drums.
Yeah, they're so weird. It was so random too. I mean, when I started, I think when I was in about 6th grade, when I was sawing away on the cello and the metal clarinet, and the teacher said something to the effect of, "Oh, I need like a bunch of people to go back and hit the woodblock or something," and I was like, I'll do it. So that's sort of my first introduction to drumming. And then in 7th grade, a teacher took me to see Buddy Rich and his Killer Force Orchestra, 1974. And it changed my life. It's all I ever wanted to do is play drums and play in big band since that moment. I feel very lucky.
And it was that connection through, Buddy Rich with Stanley Kaye, who was his sub drummer and the manager of that band for many, many years. He was really instrumental in putting together the DIVA Orchestra, correct?
Oh yeah, it was completely his idea, not mine. Many women in my generation did not really embrace all women projects too often because there was a stereotype set up historically that women weren't really being taken seriously as musicians. It was more about how you looked and how you presented yourself. I mean, a lot of that's much, much better today. Some of it still exists, clearly, but yeah, Stanley said to me, he heard me playing drums it was actually the 75th anniversary of the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut, and Stanley was conducting for Maurice Hines. I knew Stanley because of the Buddy Rich books, and his fame preceded him. But he asked me after that. That was in 1990. Stanley said, "How come all these bands in New York City? Why aren't there any women in any of these big bands?" Like a Monday night was the night big bands were all over the place. And I said, "I don't know, a really, really good question, but I don't know. We're here, but we never get called." And he goes, "Well, let's try something. Let's have an audition." and then we'll see what we get. And if people can play, we'll keep moving forward. And if not, it's going to be over. So we had an audition. 40 women came, including Ingrid Jensen. Some of the founding members of the group were in that original. Virginia Mayhew, me, Lisa Whitaker, our lead trumpet player. We formed, and Claire Daly, rest her soul, Claire Daly. And we started the first band, and then here we are. We kept rolling because Stanley looked at the bunch of us and said, I don't care if you weigh 300 pounds and have a mustache. As long as you can play your instrument, that's all I care about. Which was a relief. He had, and it was really, and that's the reason, back to my opening statement about all women projects, is all he cared about was the music. All he cared about was the music. And that was somewhat of a relief for many projects that were offered to women prior to that. Not all, of course, but it was very more often the norm. It wasn't the exception, it was the rule. Back then.
In those early days, how was it getting gigs?
Well, because of Stanley's reputation and his connection to all things showbiz, and it was not easy, but he said, I want my band to go in here. Let's try this. And he would be, giving our recordings to people. We spent a lot of time making videos. And more crucially, I think, to our continued success is that right from the beginning, we were partnered with John LaBarbera, who was a co-founder, great writer of the Buddy Rich Band, the famous LaBarbera family of great musicians, Joe LaBarbera, drummer, Pat LaBarbera, sax, and then John, trumpet and writer. So we always commissioned all of our music, and Michael Abeni, and that helped set the tone for this is what the DIVA Jazz Orchestra sounds like, and their charts are exclusive to our library. Although a few of them we've published, a few of our original pieces now. But anyway, so with Stanley's reputation, he would call people, and they would either give us an opportunity or wait a while, and then they'd say, well, let's see how it goes. But we had proceeded with recordings and videos, and Dr. Billy Taylor gave us one of our first greatest gigs at the Kennedy Center for the first Mary Lou Williams Festival. That was, I think, in '96. That was great. We played, I can't remember if it was '95, the first time we played at the Hollywood Bowl. So we had some big opportunities right out of the gate. The first time we came to Los Angeles, we played at the Jazz Bakery. And I think one of the Jazz Educators Conferences were out there. So all of those things just snowballed to our benefit. Like everything, you get one gig and you show up there and you play well and do well, and then they're like, all right, let's give them a chance. And I think our first big club run in New York was at the Blue Note. We played with vocalist Ann Hampton Calloway.
Love Ann.
It was really interesting because back in those days, and as when I moved to New York in 1985, all the clubs did 6 nights a week with the main act, and they all were 3 sets a night. So we played 18 shows in there. I mean, I can't even tell you how ridiculously, very, very low money for jazz musicians even back then, but man, it was great for the band. That's 6 nights a week, 3 shows a night. You can imagine how tight we were by, even by the third night, we were like, we've been playing the show for our entire lives. It was great. So we had those special moments, and then, like I mentioned, it just snowballed, and we had a great run. There was a phenomenal club in New York called the Chestnut Room at Tavern on the Green. We played there frequently. That was a great room. We loved that. I was really sad that closed. And then we got into Jazz at Lincoln Center, where we've been playing ever since they opened. We do our birthday run there. So that's really great. Just great. I mean, there's, and the Gabby Kleinschmidt, this great European producer, brought us to Europe the first time. We used to go to Europe 3 or 4 times a year sometimes, and toured quite a bit extensively in Germany because Gabby was from Tuttlingen in the Black Forest area, and she brought us quite a bit. So yeah, knock on all wood, and like I said, still going.
Along the way, you have inspired over your 30-year history couple of generations of women and men musicians. And I think that sometimes we leave out the part of how important it is for young men to see women up on the bandstand as well as young women, so that they get the idea from the very beginning that jazz is for everybody.
Yeah, and that's just a great way to put it. Jazz is for everybody. And I used to think that in the 90s, we did 2 very long tours. In '98, we did 10 weeks of one-nighters through the Midwest. And then right after that, we did 8 weeks of one-nighters in the Pacific Northwest. And a lot of them were in smaller communities that didn't have major performing art centers. It was through a group called what was it called? Columbia Artists sponsored the community concerts. And it was fantastic. And I often thought that to myself. A lot of these kids have never seen a big band ever, So I was happy they saw us first. Not the Count Basie band, so they would almost have a balance of like they're already going to see and know that women can scream and bring the fire as much as anybody else. But yeah, I mean that's an ongoing question these days, Dennis. Really, is like the women in jazz issue, which still comes up quite frequently. But it's really the conclusion is really that it's not the women's issue to solve. It's all the men who have problems with it. It really lies on young men, old men, every man in between that looks at a woman and has a thought like, well, they can't play, they're a woman, or whatever, or can they play, or question it. That's really the men's effort to solve, men's responsibility to solve. We can't help you.
That's right. That's right. It's our problem. Well, I can say apocryphally in our little corner here, one of the things that we do at KCCK is we run a jazz band camp for middle school students every summer. And we've been doing that for 20 years now. And in the beginning, when we first started doing it, we just got a tiny handful of girls. And now we have more girls in our camp than we have boys. So that's a teeny tiny sample, but it's an example of the fact that I think that we're making at least a little progress. One of the organizations locally that is helping us do that, and I know they're great friends of yours, is a group that was inspired by the DIVA Orchestra, the Iowa Women's Jazz Orchestra, led by Tony Lefebvre and Kelly Suela.
Yeah, I love them. They're great, and I'm sure they're making a huge impact. And a lot of kids, they look at. Nobody in my generation, we had such a lack of awareness of other women players, even because nobody taught it to us. People were in college, people not mentioning, or teachers not mentioning the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, or Clara Bryant, or Jane Sagar, or Vi Red, and all these phenomenal players that were there playing as good as anybody, who got so little attention and so little press and so little acknowledgement that even jazz history professor left them out of jazz history when I was a kid. So I'm sure there's inroads, and when kids look up and they see, it's the common, and no matter what minority you are, if you look up and you see yourself, it makes a really strong impact.
What's the current lineup of the DIVA Orchestra? We play your albums here at KCCK, and often I'll be looking at an album in the studio and go, something new comes in, goes, oh well, she's in the DIVA Orchestra, of course. So who is currently touring with the band?
Well, you know what? I just wanted to say too, in 33 years of this, I cannot tell you we have a roster of all of the amazing musicians who have gone through the band, which is the privilege of any band leader. As people come in and out of your band, it's like, oh my God, it's so painful. Not Cohen, you're leaving for a solo career, or Ingrid Jensen, or, anybody like that. And it's just an equally amounts of extreme happiness to have that foundation with all these incredible players that help shape our sound, and sad when they leave, and then even more thrilled when new people come in with equal amounts of talent. I love the band because when I started, I was the youngest person. Now I'm one of the oldest, not the oldest, but one of the oldest, which is kind of cool. And you see people coming in. Kellen Hannes, who will be with us in Iowa, this great trumpeter, graduated Manhattan School. She turned 21 on the road with us with their Manhattan transfer. The kid is as good as anybody I've ever heard in my life. And Ingrid Jensen was her teacher. So that's sort of a cool big circle for me and for the DIVA organization. So Kellen's in the trumpet section. Our veteran, one of the best lead trumpet players in the world, Liesl Whitaker. She's been with us since 1992. Same with Laura Dreyer, one of our saxophone players, founding member. Barbara Laraga, been probably playing with us 25 years. I mean, there's great longevity in the band. And then there'll be a girl, Janelle Finton, who's played with us multiple times, and she lives near Chicago. And her and Kellen were best friends from school. She's been with us quite a bit. And let's see, Jennifer Wharton, very famous for her Bonegasm band, will be with us on bass trombone. My rhythm section mates for eternity, Noriko Ueda, who's now, famous with Artemis all over the place. One of the greatest writers, and Tomoko Ono will be together. And just a slew of amazing saxophonists. Lee Pilzer, astonishingly great. Arina Terakubo on lead alto, just one of the very finest lead alto players you'll ever hear in your life. So it's going to be amazing. I was just actually thinking about the program now because somebody was asking me for the music. I said, I don't know yet what we're playing. I got to get through the Dizzy's week first.
Well, since you're still kind of thinking that through, but, what's a typical DIVA set? The balance between, classic charts that that every musician wants to test their metal against. Plus, new compositions from the band, classic compositions, that your band has composed or had written for them over the years. Kind of how does it in general lay out?
That's a cool question. I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that before. Well, one of my primary focuses is always to feature every single person in the band. Every person in the band is an astonishingly great soloist. And I know that if I hear a band and it's like one or two of the same people soloing all the time, I get incredibly bored with that. No matter how great the band is, like, but you got all these people. How come I'm only hearing two of them? So I focus my programming on a couple of things, that being one of them. Like, you will hear every person in my band solo, even if I can squeeze it in an hour, you're going to hear a majority of them. Because you deserve it. The listeners deserve to hear all I'm we're bringing all these people all this way, and they're phenomenal players. So that's number one. I like to play things that feel great, that swing, that have a pocket. I mean, it can be new, it can be modern, it can have hip, crazy harmony, but you're going to hear a great melody and you're going to hear a great groove in everything we play. We're doing actually we'll probably do three brand new compositions that we just recorded on a new project we have coming out with Melissa Manchester and Ann Hampton Calloway. And it's called Audacity, and it's the DIVA Jazz Orchestra with them. And so we have three instrumental compositions that we just had arranged. Actually, we're doing a super cool version of Earth, Wind, and Fire, Shining Star. Great jazz version of that. We're doing a Katy Perry Firework that Sarah Giacovino arranged, stellar arrangement. Oh, and it's going to feature it's going to feature Sheila Gonzalez on. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong lead alto player. Sheila Gonzalez is going to be with us in Iowa. She's because I just remembered I programmed this feature for her, and she recorded it with us. And she's actually with the Frank Zappa, Dweezil Zappa on Zappa band. And she just won a Grammy Award. So we're bringing a Grammy winner, Sheila Gonzalez. So that Katy Perry tune, we have something on a slamming backbeat shuffle of I'm Every Woman, the Whitney tune, Whitney Houston. I can't guarantee, but I think this is what I'm thinking about playing. Then I'll always program a ballad, well balanced between like swingers of a different variety of swing, up tempo, backbeat shuffle, something straight up the middle, and then always some beautiful ballad in the set, and definitely something like some rock, funk, or Cuban or Brazilian vibe, something in there a little bit, different and fun to play for everybody, and certainly I hope fun to listen to.
The DIVA Jazz Orchestra performs at Coe College on the 8th of April as a part of the Marquis Series. You can get tickets by going to coe.edu or also picking them up at the door. But get them early because I anticipate a full house for this concert, one that we've had on our radar that we've been looking forward to for a long time. Sherrie, you did mention that you were in the studio doing some new projects. So what can we expect for any new albums coming out?
Well, like I mentioned, we are in the throngs of the final mixes with this project called Audacity. And it's Melissa Manchester, who I'm a great fan of from the 70s. So many great hits that woman has. What a great songwriter she is. So prolific. I personally love the theme from Ice Castles, Through the Eyes of Love. But, Midnight Blue, and what's the one? I think we can make it one more time. I forget all her hits. She has so many. So her and Ann Hampton Calloway, also a great songwriter, wrote a new song for this project, and the name of the project is Audacity. So it'll be out sometime. I don't know, at the end of this year or early into 27. Not sure. And we'll probably tour with that a bit.
Melissa has been busy. I saw her on a Broadway tour in Funny Girl just a few months ago.
Well, that's why this album project wasn't done sooner, because she was so busy. Knock on wood, right? Like, as busy as you want to be. It's a good place to be in. And we did release an album recently called Tapping Through Life, a celebration of Maurice Hines. It's the soundtrack to that show I mentioned. And Maurice passed away, but and actually he's working with us at Dizzy's again this year. Clint Holmes, one of the greatest vocalists I've ever worked with in my life. Absolutely stellar. Like, if you don't know him, I hope, or if you don't have this recording of Tapping Through Life, I want to send it to you. Clint's on it, and the two Manzari brothers, who are amazing tap dancers, who are Maurice's proteges, and Ann Hampton Calloway's also on that record. So that just came out a little while ago. And we're gonna, every 5 years, I'll be doing a celebration of the band with all original music. We're gonna do our it'll be 35th anniversary project coming up soon. Then our 30th we recorded live at Dizzy's Club. So our 35th we'll probably do another studio album of original music.
At the time we're taping this, your birthday concert is still a little bit in the future, but as you said at the top of the interview, you'll be in fine form after that run at Dizzy's for our show on the 8th of April. Sherrie, if people want to stay in contact with the band or with you, what is the best place online to go visit?
Like our website, divajazz.com, Facebook, Sherrie Maricle and the DIVA Jazz Orchestra, or on Instagram, it's DIVA Jazz Org. And on TikTok, I'm on there. It's mostly me, but it's still DIVA Jazz Org. A lot of my band is like, what's TikTok? Some of them are on there. I actually like TikTok. I like all the social, and LinkedIn. As my name on LinkedIn. I like all the social media platforms. They're fun.
Well, Sherrie, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I'm looking forward to this concert so much, and have a fun birthday party, and we will see you shortly thereafter in Cedar Rapids.
You will. Can't wait.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.